Hello and welcome to FPL Have a Beer, where I invite you to have a beer with me while I talk about FPL. Please like if you enjoyed the video, and at the time of recording, we're very, very close to 300 subscribers. I'd love to get there by the end of February. So if you could subscribe, I would really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. So welcome to another interview in the FPL Meet the Manager slash content creator series, where I invite one of our lovely FPL managers onto the show to talk about their experiences of FPL and content creation, their thoughts on FPL and mental health, and towards the end we just have a general chat about FPL and have the how the season is going. So the 16th interview in this series, I was struggling to get a guest on, to be honest. So I just got this guy. You've probably never heard of him. I think his name's Andy. Is that right? How are you, mate?
I'm doing good, thanks. Yourself?
Yeah. Thank you so much for going on, mate. I'm an absolutely huge fan. I've been watching you pretty much, I think, since you started. And I did a rough calculation yesterday of how many hours I think I watched of you. And I think a conservative estimation was like 1,000 hours.
Nobody needs to watch me for 1,000 hours. It's way too long.
Yeah, I also think that's the equivalent of like 7 months of full-time work in my job, which is quite scary.
I used to play World of Warcraft a lot, and that would show you how long you played certain characters. And I know people have got like a year on one character, like a year's worth of actual time. So it's we've all been there with various stuff.
Well, my worst computer game is Football Manager, and I haven't even got to 1,000 hours on that. So
not yet, anyway.
So thanks so much for joining us, mate. So I usually open up. I know you said you've watched a couple of interviews, but just a couple of like getting to know you questions, really. I'm sure everyone watching this will know who you are, but I was just wondering if you could tell me a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up? Who do you support? What are your first memories of football? Things like that.
Yeah, so I live in Ireland now, but I'm from England. Grew up in Weston-super-Mare, lovely seaside town in the southwest. And because I was born and raised in the southwest of England, I of course support Man United, like every other Man United fan. I'm not from Manchester. Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. They were doing very well at the time. I got hooked on it by my uncle.
What year did you get into football?
I remember he bought me I don't remember it, but I've still got the kit somewhere, like my first ever shirt, like when I was like 2, but obviously I didn't really know about football then. So my first memory would have been the 94, I think, FA Cup final against Chelsea, which is 4-0 for Man United.
Yeah.
And England, it would have been Euro 96.
Euro 96.
Because it was like such a big thing at the time because it was in England.
Yes.
I remember I wasn't like super into watching football at the time because I was still quite young. I was aware of it, and I remember being out in the streets and just rushing in to watch like replays of like Gascoigne's goal and stuff like that, because people were just shouting about it when we were out in the street. So I'd say Euro 96 and the FA Cup final.
Do you know what?
Chelsea,
random story. I was so into football when Euro 96 was out, but I was so into playing football, I actually went outside during the half-time of the England-Germany semi-final and didn't come back to the penalties. So I actually ended up missing most of the match. Awesome. So yeah, that's your first memories of football then. And you support Man United. Awesome. Sorry, I'm a little bit nervous, you may tell, doing this one, so I might stumble a bit with my words. So when did you first get into fantasy football, mate?
That would have been, I've actually got the FPL page here, so I can tell you. My first season was 2010, 2011. Okay. So I think this is like my 14th season now or something like that. So I've been playing it for quite a long time. I didn't play anything before FPL. But yeah, 2010, 2011 was the first season I played properly.
Is there anything specifically that got you into it? Work league or?
It was a mini league with people that I used to go to school with, I was still friends with, but didn't really see all that often. Like I might, I'd still be friendly enough with them if we were out. We might go out the odd time.
Yeah.
But they just set up a league, and I basically thought, well, I'm going to win this because I know more about football than you, and just got hooked from there. So I just wanted to win. Like these days, just because of the job and stuff, I guess I'm not as worried about mini leagues and stuff like that. But back then, and I think that's how most people get into FPL, it's to win a specific mini league.
Yeah.
And that was basically how it was for me. So straight on to Google, FPL tips, all that kind of stuff, and just got obsessed by it, basically.
Are you still in that league? Or does it still exist?
No,
No.
There is one with my with some like closer mates that I still see quite regularly, or at least regularly enough when I'm in England. But that original one, no, not in that anymore.
Yeah. What's the most important mini league to you now? Is it like is it 64 league, or I'm trying to remember. There's a few like big content creator leagues out there, isn't there?
Yeah, there's Elite 64. There's, as in, like, which one's the most important for me to win?
Yeah, or which one do you win or do well in?
I mean, I always win the one with my mates pretty much every single year. One of my friends actually came 8th one year, so he actually smashed me that season. But yeah, I always win that one. Most of the rest, I don't know. Like I'd love to win my own league, but to win that, you've probably got to finish in the top 5 or 10 because there's just so many
It's got
people.
like a million people in us.
It's over 100,000. Now, partly because you can just refresh it every year, so it's not necessarily 100,000 people joining every season. But yeah, I'd love to win that, but I'd pretty much have to win FPL to win that league.
Yeah,
which is difficult.
My overall rank is almost identical to my rank in that league, your league.
Yeah, there's a lot of people.
Any particular early FPL memories stick out to you?
I'm trying to think now. Not something I've given to. No, I mean, there's always there's the players you remember that. Not that you necessarily only know because of FPL, but you wouldn't have been as invested if you just watched football and didn't play fantasy. So like Michu, for example, at Swansea.
He was around that time, wasn't he?
Yeah, he comes in, he's cheap. I think he was 6 or 6.5 million. You know, people that weren't obsessed and reading FPL articles and stuff probably wouldn't have known about him, at least not in the first week, right, to own him at the start of the season.
Yeah.
And he absolutely smashed it. So that's probably, I mean, I think my first 1 or 2 seasons, like Chelsea would have been big, like Malouda, Drogba and players like that, having like triple ups on Chelsea.
That was is that the season Ancelotti did the double?
Possibly. My memory is terrible for stuff like that. I'm honestly not sure. I'm trying to think back now. Like I can basically tell more from my rank. So I know like the season I finished, when was it? Like 100. When did Leicester win the league? Was that 2015-16? I think it was. I finished 92k because I didn't have Jamie Vardy for like most of that season. So a lot of the stuff I remember just because of what rank I ended up at. But yeah, probably stuff like Michu early on. Players like that you just wouldn't have known unless you were super obsessed by FPL.
Okay. So you're an FPL player, and I'm guessing you probably played for 5 or 6 years. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Before you started creating content, what inspired you to create content? Now I'm thinking, I may be wrong here, that you started on Fantasy Football Scout and then started your own videos, or is it the other way around?
No, so the first thing I did was on Scoutcast. So I can't remember what. I've been doing videos on my own channel since December 2016. So it's just over 8 years now. So Scoutcast was probably like a year or 2 before that. So maybe 10 years ago or so. Now I can't remember exactly. But basically, when I searched FPL tips back in the day when I first started playing, like Scout would have been one of the main websites that people would have used. There wasn't really too much YouTube and podcasts and stuff like that. And I mean, without going into it too much, basically, when I was still working my other job, I wanted to be a community manager. That's something that I kind of, I liked what other people were doing with that. And I thought it was kind of a cool job. And part of that, or maybe not for every...
Sorry, that was Joe on FF Scout, wasn't it?
He was the community manager for Scout, yeah. But I didn't necessarily want to do it for them, but I wanted to do it in general for like gaming and stuff like that. Right. And so I would help moderate on the Scout forums, and you'd have like a back-end website and stuff where you would chat just with people who worked there. And I just got more and more into moderating and stuff like that. And then there just happened to be one. I said that I would like to go on the Scoutcast or some. I can't remember exactly how it happened, but I think I said I'd be up for going on at some point. And then 1 week Granville couldn't make it, and so I just went on.
Sorry, Andy, so were you like a member of the, someone who was writing in the vlogs and stuff all the time? Is that how like they knew who you were?
No, it's like, so basically on the website underneath you can write comments. So it's like a forum. So people, they probably still do it now. Like you're just discussing fantasy football, right? It's just like a forum. So you might make a post and people reply to it. And so I just helped in the background moderate that. So like delete comments or report users and stuff like that, like in my spare time, basically. And so I said on this back end website that I'd be up for going on the Scoutcast at some point if needed. And then Granville just couldn't make it. And so I was on. And basically, I feel like the only reason that I kept going on was because I was always available. Like, not because I was good at it or anything, but Granville missed out a few more times. I don't know, work and stuff like that. And I was just consistently on, and it kind of just took off from there. I was on there for a little while. I think Az then came on as well, not too long. I can't remember exactly how long after Az was on. I think I was on just before him. And yeah, just went from there. And then, as well as, again, stop me if I'm going into too much boring detail, but as well as like community management, I always had like quite a big interest in YouTube and like having that kind of. I always not necessarily aspired to be a YouTuber, but I was always kind of intrigued by people that had made it their job. So I used to watch YouTube and videos around that all the time.
So I guess in 2015, 2016, that would have been a lot fewer people than we've got.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, now it's massively saturated. Like if someone says now they want to be a YouTuber, it's not seen as this weird thing.
Yeah.
Whereas back then, it probably still was a little bit. But they were obviously doing Scoutcasts and stuff like that, and I felt like there was certain things from a YouTube perspective they weren't necessarily doing like optimally, I guess, or correctly. So I remember sending an email saying we should change these things on the YouTube channel, like simple things like just getting the title right and stuff like that. And then I just decided to just do my own stream one day instead.
How long had you been on the Scoutcast at that point?
I want to say like a year or two, something like that.
So you felt
quite a while.
Did you feel comfortable in front of the cam when you first sort of recorded by yourself?
Not really. You can go and watch my first ever stream back on my channel. It was rubbish, really, like compared to what it is now. But basically, I wanted to do a gaming stream. That's what I was more interested in at the time. I didn't really want to do. It's not that I didn't want to do FPL stuff. I just hadn't given it any thought, and I couldn't get the game I was trying to play to work. So I just did an FPL stream instead. And nobody. I don't ever want to say nobody because there's always someone probably, but I don't really remember anyone streaming at the time. There was people making videos, but there was no one streaming. So even like Scoutcast would have been live, but they weren't talking to who was watching. They were just recording it live so you could watch it live. So like I was probably one of the first people that would actually like interact on a live stream with people. And like the first one got like 50 people and it just kind of hooked me in like straight away.
Yeah,
because like getting 50 people on your first stream is pretty big. Even now, if you did a stream and you got 50 people straight away, like that's pretty big. I thought, well, I'll do it next time. I'll see if more people watch, and got another 50 or 60, and it just spiraled. It just became a bit of an obsession then, to the point where I stopped doing the Scoutcast and in favor of basically doing more videos on my own channel. Essentially, would
you say that's like a sliding doors moment then? Perhaps if that game had worked that night.
Possibly.
Would ever be born.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, things work out like that sometimes in life. I think I had the internet for it. I didn't have the computer to run it, basically. And so for FPL at the time, I was just essentially streaming a website. It was just the web browser in front of me with me over the top, and that was it. So in terms of computer intensity, that's not the right word, but it didn't take much computing power to run. So it was just a lot easier. So yeah, possibly. And I certainly wouldn't be a gaming person these days, I don't think. So I'm kind of glad it didn't work and the FPL became the job instead.
So when along that sort of period did you, because you were working for EA Sports before, weren't you? When of along that period of time did you decide you were gonna? You said you wanted it maybe to be your full-time career, but you kind of took that jump. And how scary was that?
Well, I never, when I started doing FPL videos, I never ever thought, it's not that I never thought it could be a job. I just never thought about it like that. Yeah. It was always just a hobby. So I would just do it, in my spare time, because I enjoy doing it. And that's pretty much why most people start YouTube. But maybe it's a bit different now because so many people do it as their job. But back then, like when I first started that first stream, I wasn't thinking on the second stream, well, this could be my job one day. But obviously it grew and grew. And so the numbers were going up, more subscribers, more people watching. And I think 1 month, like in August, like I earned a bit of money where I thought, oh, hang on, this is quite close to what I'm earning from an actual job. And I'm doing this in my spare time. surely eventually this could one day be my job. The problem was at the time that 1 month was not the same as all the other months. So there was no way I could quit my job because it just wasn't enough money. I just felt like one day it could get there. And then it just kept growing. And the thing is, I didn't stop. Sorry, I didn't quit my job to do my channel. I quit my job to work at Scout, doing videos for them.
Right.
And I was doing my stuff in the background. And I think I did that for about a year or so. And then my channel just kept growing. And I thought at some point I've got to make the jump and just see if I can do it on my own. Because otherwise other people are going to do it and I'm going to get left behind. So I quit my job to do Scout, which was a few less hours than I was doing at my old job. That meant I had more hours to do my own stuff. And it kind of just skyrocketed from there, basically. I almost quit the first. Again, my memory is so bad, but I think I did Scout. I think I joined in like in October, and then obviously the season finished in May, so it was about 6 or 7 months, and I almost quit straight away. And I actually got I got a little bit scared basically that my channel wasn't going to be big enough, so I didn't quit, and I did another season, and then I quit the next season. So I was there for about 18 months, I would say, at Scout.
It's interesting. I'm just thinking, like, in general, content creator almost was a term that was sort of invented. It became mainstream, what it means about 10 years ago. And I think I read the other day that they did a survey, and kids now, their most number one job that they want to do is become a content creator. It's pretty crazy. In a
doesn't surprise me at all, honestly.
Yeah. Yes. How have you? So you've been doing content now for at least 8 years, probably I guess more with the Scoutcast. How have your experiences changed? Would you say over that period of time, if they have, apart from I guess the number of viewers you get?
Like like anything specific, or?
Well, is there anything specific? I mean, I know you've obviously. I don't know.
I guess one big thing that's changed is there's so much more people doing it.
Yeah.
When I first started Scoutcast, again, there might have been other people, but that's the only one I really knew. They were the only kind of FPL podcast. When I started doing my streams, there was no one else streaming. There was a few other, like FPL Tips is like probably the OG of FPL YouTube. Like he was doing videos, and there was a couple of other people doing videos as well, but there was maybe like 3, and none of them were full-time. None of us were back then. Like there's no way you could have done FPL as a full-time job. Nowadays, you've got like not even 3 or 4. You've probably got dozens of people making a living out of this now, doing content creation, dozens of people with websites, so the competition and the saturation is just massive. Like that's probably the one big thing that's changed for FPL content creation. It's just there's so many podcasts, there's so many articles, there's so many Twitter accounts, YouTube, etc. Like you're not stuck for content these days, that's for sure. That's definitely the biggest change, the number of people.
This is a question, I hope you don't mind me asking this. This isn't one I had written down, but I guess your subscribers has continued to grow, but as that plethora of other content creators have started making similar videos, did that affect your views?
Yeah, views have definitely gone. So actually, I was checking this the other day, and this is going to be a theme of me saying I can't remember. I don't think my views have gone down overall, but they're not getting any bigger.
Right.
It's not like a massive. It's not like an increase year on year. I think it's partly because there's so many other people, but also just because FPL, in the grand scheme of things, is quite a small game. Like it feels to us like there's 10 million people playing, but then there's only a certain percentage of that they're actually going to watch content. So like it's actually quite a small niche, like compared to like if you were like a gaming channel for Grand Theft Auto or FIFA. Like there's so many more people that play those games, so that the audience is much bigger. Like no one. Maybe I'm wrong, right? Maybe someone will crack it, but no one's going to make an FPL video and get like 1 million+ views. It's just probably not going to happen. There's not that many people. So yeah, I think there's just a lot of competition now, and also the size of the game means the views. There has to be like a cap. There's it can't grow forever, that's for sure, unless the Premier League figure out a way to get another 10-20 million people playing the game, basically.
And it seems to be quite a consistent number now, doesn't it? It has been for a few seasons, about that 10-11 million mark. I was going to say, do you feel, I don't know if pride is the right word, but there are so many channels that are structured so similarly to you, have used you, and I suppose to be fair, FPL tips as well, as an inspiration. I mean, I remember even 5 years ago there were adverts on my YouTube coming out. Like, I think there was a whole website about how to become an FPL content creator. I don't know if you ever saw that. I used to get YouTube adverts. Is that pride weird? I don't know.
I don't know if I really think about it. I've never thought I'm proud that people do deadline streams and final thoughts videos and stuff, which I was probably one of the first to do. Like FPL tips would have done like watch list, team selection, and stuff like that. No, I don't really think about it, to be honest. I guess it's kind of cool, but yeah, I don't know. I've not thought of it as a pride thing, really.
Do you feel a need to keep evolving the channel with so many other content creators out there? I mean, within the limited genre that you can in FPL.
I think there's a need to try and improve where you can either way, to be honest. Even if there was no one else, even if every other channel decided to stop making videos and podcasts, I don't think you can stand still for too long. There's only a certain amount you can do for an FPL channel. At the end of the day, people just want to know who to transfer in and out, right? That's the long and the short of it. But yeah, I overhauled my stream graphics this season. I've had the same video graphics for a couple of seasons now. I'll probably look at changing them next year. My thumbnails are different to last year. So all those things I'll think about, but not necessarily because of other people, just because why not? It's always nice to have a bit of a change. Keep trying to improve things where I can.
Yeah, I think Joe said when I interviewed him, FF Scout Joe, that the graphics was really the sort of thing that you kept on moving the bar up with. So I was wondering if you could tell us what maybe are the positives of being an FPL content creator, fantasy football content creator, and also the negatives, if there are any, which I'm sure there probably are.
Yeah, I think it's probably. I don't think it's necessarily an FPL specific thing. It's probably more just doing YouTube as your job. Obviously, I mean the positives are it's a job, and it's still I don't necessarily sit back every day and think I'm so grateful for this, but there are times every now and again where I just sit back and say this is ridiculous what I'm doing. How can this be a job? Even though YouTube is so, I don't know, normal now, I still sometimes sit there and think how the hell did this even happen? So that is for me, being a content creator that does this as a job, that's a huge positive, right? Because I'm my own boss. I sort of set my own hours, right? I mean, it revolves around FPL, but I'm not answering to anyone. And because of that, I'm not super stressed and stuff like that. So obviously that's good.
You can lay in when you want. You can lay in when you want if you want.
Well, not really, because then you get left behind, right? But yeah, I'm not panicked in the morning and stuff like that. I used to work at Curry's, and it got to the point I just hated it. I just didn't want to go into work, and so yeah, being a content creator, obviously that's a massive positive. I'm sure there's something else that I should probably mention, but I can't really think. I guess again, it's kind of cool that so many people watch. The weird thing is, as much as it's a cool job, because it's still a job, you don't necessarily always think about this stuff. You're still getting up and having to do a specific thing. I actually saw, I don't know if you've ever watched Tom Scott, YouTuber.
No.
No, but I watched his video the other day when he didn't quit, but he said he's going away for a while. And he basically said a dream job is still a job. You still have to think about work and stuff like that. So anyway, I'm going off on a
do you ever think, does it ever diminish your enjoyment of FPL, the fact it's your job?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, no. I still love playing the game. I'd still play it even if I didn't make videos. I wouldn't necessarily spend as much time on it, maybe. But yeah, I would definitely still play. I played it. It's not like I decided that I wanted to do FPL as a job, so I started playing. I was already playing, then it became a job. I'm pretty sure I would still play and still enjoy it if it wasn't, the full-time gig. In terms of the negatives, I mean, I guess when you've got lots of followers, people following you on Twitter, YouTube and stuff, you're going to attract a certain percentage of negativity, I guess. And do you know what I mean? I've got constant messages and comments on videos.
A lot of them related to Bruno Fernandes, by any chance?
Well, there was early on in the season. And look, some of it is great, and it's in fact, it's not even some of it. Most of it is super positive, but we're human, and the negative stuff is kind of what sticks out sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think we're not necessarily built to have so much information coming at us. Like FPL, in the grand scheme of the internet, is that most of the community is just Care Bears, right? They're not nasty. There's plenty of other things you can do on the internet that will attract way more horrible comments. But it's still, you still don't need to see it, right? You don't need all that negativity. Like if I walk down the street, I don't get 10, 20 people shouting bad things at me. Whereas on the internet, it's so easy to do. And so obviously that's not a great part of being a content creator, but also unfortunately comes with the territory, right? You've kind of got to put up with it. So that's probably the negative, I would say.
Okay. So I'd like to think that there are possibly some up-and-coming FPL content creators who watch these. What advice would you give to any FPL content creators wanting to start out? And also, Andy, I tossed the term whether to ask you this one. FPL Nightmare, who came on the channel last week, asked me if I would ask you what your stream setup is.
In terms of what I use?
I think so, yeah.
I like equipment or what? I don't know.
I think that's what it means.
I've got a green screen. I've got a microphone and a webcam, and all my stuff's done in Photoshop, and then I just stream on OBS, or I just record on OBS.
Yeah, we were saying before we started recording, like it doesn't. The equipment, it doesn't seem to matter how big or small you are in. It seems to be fairly similar, doesn't it, in terms of like OBS and.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, like I pay someone to make my graphics. They make me templates because I'm just rubbish. I haven't got a creative bone in my body. So someone else makes the graphics in Photoshop and it's set up in a template so I can edit it. Yeah, I'm not really sure what else to. I don't really know. I'm not trying to hide anything. I just don't know if there's more. Because I do it so often. Like I feel like it's quite simple. So I'm not really sure what people ever really want to know. Like I just sit in the front, click record, try and do it in one take, and then unrecord. Stop recording, I guess.
I'd strongly recommend anyone watching check out FPL Nightmare's channel. So just generally, Andy, is there any advice you'd give? And I guess we could maybe talk about your new YouTube channel at this point as well, which is you've been giving some advice in terms of new YouTubers. What advice you'd give for someone starting out?
Yeah, I think you have to do it because you enjoy it, because YouTube's one of those things that like the dream is amazing, right? It could become your job and you can quit and earn money and stuff like that. But the reality is it just doesn't work for a lot of people. Yeah. Like there'll be plenty of people that have been doing it as long as me that just haven't got to that point. And like that is unfortunately the way YouTube goes. So you have to do it because you enjoy it, because if you start doing it thinking this is going to be a job, you'll just burn out so quickly, I think. I also think with FPL you have to be there every game week. You can't start missing loads of game weeks because people just aren't going to come back and watch. Like that's one of the things. When I started, there was only a couple of other people doing videos, and I remember one of the channels, like it felt like every other week there was a video about what they're going to do, why they've been away, and people just unfortunately they just don't care about that. Right? People are logging on to watch you talk about FPL. That's what they want to see. So you've got to be there every game week. Enjoy it, and I don't know, really try and don't worry too much about what it looks and sounds like at the start. You can just improve as you go. It's not going to be a massive success straight away. At least for most people, it's not going to be a massive success unless you've got like a background in graphics and stuff like that. Yeah. I feel like there's something. I don't really do podcasts like that. I'm usually talking about transfers, so I always feel like there's something I'm missing. But
Andy, to reverse the question back on you, what inspired the creation of the latest YouTube channel, which is Andy Mears, isn't it? Listen.
Yeah. I'm not really sure. I think so. Obviously, FPL was a hobby, and then it turned into a job, and so in some ways, I feel like I'm lacking a hobby now. Now it doesn't have to be YouTube. Like I walk every morning, I go to the gym and stuff like that, and maybe I should like take up tennis or something like that. But I like YouTube, so I wanted to do another channel. And And one of the things I always tell to people when they say, what should I do to start content, is always just start, because that's when most people stop. They don't stop. They just don't start in the first place because they're too worried about what someone's going to say or how bad the video is. So if I would take my own advice and just make a video and just see how it goes. I'll be completely honest though, I'm already overthinking that channel. Like,
really?
You know, yeah, like, because I already know if I keep doing videos like I am, it's never gonna take off big. Like, it just won't, because my life's not that interesting and stuff like that and whatever. So I need to do bigger and better things if I want to make it better. So I'm already overthinking what I put on that channel. But that's really, you should just, you're not going to know what you want to do until you probably hit like 50, 100 videos. So I think you've just got to put the time in and then just see where it goes. So yeah, I wanted a second hobby essentially, and just to try something different that wasn't FPL.
Yeah, to speak as someone who's only been doing this for 3 months, that's pretty much what I'm doing this as a hobby, and I'm really enjoying it. Like, yeah, it's just
I
fun.
think I said that on one of the videos on that other channel. Is like, if you enjoy it, then it's not really time wasted. You know, if you're setting up an FPL channel thinking, right, in a year or two this is going to be my job, the reality is it probably won't be. It takes quite a while to get to that point. I think, like, to be fair, it can be quite quick. I think both FPL Focal and FPL Mate, I think both of them went from kind of starting up to full time quite quickly. I mean, they're super good at editing and graphics and stuff like that, so they've, I guess, got a bit of a head start.
I had Mate on the channel. I think he had a few different YouTubes in other genres before he started.
Yeah, I mean, I had YouTube channels before I did this. Like, I feel like although I'm bad at editing and stuff like that, I've watched so much content around YouTube that, you know, I knew what software to use and stuff like that. So like I've kind of put the hours in like way before I ever started. Like, I tried making gaming. Like, there's still a YouTube channel out there for Final Fantasy 14 that's got about 8 of my videos on.
Oh, wow.
Because I tried doing a gaming channel and I just didn't have enough interest in the game, so I couldn't keep making content. Whereas with FPL, I'd played it for like 5 years already, so I knew I already enjoyed it, so it was easier to keep talking about it.
It's funny.
So that's why
so many channels seem to start. I follow politics quite closely, and there's 2 politics channels I follow, both which their views are in the hundreds of thousands, and they both started basically as failed gaming channels to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, gaming is a massive. It's massive, right? There's lots of competition. Same with FPL now. That's why if you start an FPL channel now, it's even more difficult, because not only is there so many people doing it, there's so many of us doing it as jobs now, which means we can put content out every day, and it's difficult to compete with that. So yeah, I've tried gaming, like both streaming and just making videos, and I don't think I actually failed because I wasn't that good at it. I just didn't have the interest in carrying on playing the game. Like, so that's why I say, like, if you start an FPL channel, you really should just enjoy the game. Otherwise, like, what are you doing it for?
What game did you do? FIFA, was that one of them?
No, Final Fantasy 14. It's like a.
Okay, yeah, I know. Final Fantasy, yeah. So a couple of other questions then before we move on to talk about FPL and mental health. How did you come up with a channel name? Let's talk FPL. I mean, it's such a simple, catchy name.
It's terrible. It's terrible. Do you not think it's a terrible name?
No, I hate it. But it's literally Let's Talk FPL, which is what you do.
I know, but it's like it's the kind of name you name a channel when you can't think of anything, basically. Like I said earlier, I'm not very creative at all.
Okay, right, let's play a game. Let's go back 10 years, and you could redo it. What would you
This is the thing. I won't be able to give you a name. I want to, if I want to go and make a Twitch channel tomorrow to stream, I'll spend hours thinking of a name, and I won't be able to think of one, so I just won't do it. Like, I'm terrible with it. I couldn't give you a name.
You need to pay someone to come up with a channel.
Yeah, I probably do, honestly.
I think Let's Talk FPL. Well, how did you come up with it? Was it just that was the first thing that came in your head, or?
Yeah, I couldn't think of anything else. I seem to remember just not being able to come up with a good name. I actually didn't have that name first of all. I used like a tag I used to have on games, and then I switched it after a while because I knew that I had to have a more FPL specific name, so people could find it on YouTube and stuff like that. So yeah, it's like let's just talk FPL because that's all I can think of. There really wasn't much more to it than that. I just couldn't think of a name, and that was the best thing that I came up with, essentially.
So this one is a bit of a laugh, and I know I always try and guess the answer to this one. I know the answer is going to be yes in this case, but maybe rather than you could tell us if there's any particularly interesting incidences when you've been recognised as Let's Talk FPL Andy in real life.
Not. No, I mean generally people have been really nice. I think.
How often, mate? How often's it happen?
Not that often. I think if I lived in England, it might happen a bit more because I guess most of or a large percentage of people that watch are from the UK. I don't know. Not that I can't remember the last time it happened. Put it that way. It's not like a daily occurrence, but it's happened. A few times. Like I might be out with my wife, and then like once I was we were just on a night out, just having a drink in a hotel, and I saw this guy kind of look over, and like you don't want to be that person. It's like, oh, he knows who I am. But he kept looking. And I thought
he might have fancied you, mate. You know?
Maybe, yeah. I thought there's no other reason for him to keep looking over. And then I saw him show his phone to his, I don't know, partner, wife, whatever. And I saw the green. I couldn't see it properly. I thought that's an FPL pitch. And then like a couple of minutes later, he came over and just said hi. I don't know. I was in a swimming pool once and this guy said, "Are you Andy?" Like in Spain. He said, "I recognize your voice from the Scoutcast." So that was a bit weird. But no, like nothing interesting, but people have always been really nice. I always just say that I'm not unsociable. Like you can come and say hi, but I am I'm a bit introverted, I guess. Like I'm terrible with small talk. So if I've ever forgotten to ask your name or anything like that, I can only apologise.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that actually because do you know who got the assist?
Yeah,
I had Tom on here, and that's obviously like mainly a scout cast. And the one time he'd been recognised was he was in a cab, and the driver didn't even see his face and just recognised his voice.
No, his voice, yeah.
Which really surprises me that you can like this that much recognition of voices.
Just to show what kind of nerd I am, I used to play World of Warcraft quite a lot, and you're like part of a guild or whatever. And we actually did a meet-up in Bristol near where I lived,
right.
And never seen any of these people. And they would just start talking, and you knew who you knew who their in-game name was just by their voice. So I'm sure it happens all the time. To be honest, there'll be a lot of people that just watch in the background or listen to a podcast, and it's more recognisable than you think.
Yeah, it's interesting. Okay, so we'll move on now to talk a bit about FPL and mental health mood, which is a little bit of focus on the channel. Just a reminder, if you're enjoying the video, please like and subscribe. I've got next two interviews hopefully coming up after this one are going to be with FPL Raptor and as amazing guests. So I'd really appreciate if you did that. Okay, so I kind of break this question into two parts. I'll ask you them both, and maybe you could answer them in sort of succession. Has FPL ever had an effect on your mental health / mood? And I first of all, sort of as a player, sort of separating out the content creation bit, even though if you have to think back a bit, and then secondly, as a content creator.
Yeah, I think on the first bit, like mood, definitely. Like if, I mean, we had the storm in Ireland recently, so I was kind of cut off from like internet and stuff like that, and like straight away I see it's like someone tells me the score is 3-0 and Gakpo scored and I didn't bring him in. So already I'm thinking, that's a bit annoying. But because I don't know the rest of the scores, my mood's okay. And then the next morning when I found out he got like three returns and my players hadn't done very much, like straight away, like I'm a bit more, I can feel that I'm a bit more annoyed. Like I'm irritable, I guess is the best way of putting it. But there's not like a specific time where it's like really hit me. But I am more and more aware as I get older like how irritable I can get sometimes when, and also by the way, the opposite, like when you're doing really well, how much your mood changes in a positive way. And obviously it's good to be in a good mood, but I don't think it's probably not a good thing how like opposite the two things are. I don't know if FPL should be the thing providing those highs when you know it can be the complete opposite. I guess it's better to be on a more neutral mood level or whatever. I'm probably explaining that terribly. But yeah, I do notice that. Like, I know double game week already, like if Van Dijk concedes twice and Gakpo goes and scores another 4 goals, like that's going to be super annoying. And it's probably going to put me in a little bit of a bad mood. But I do try and, there's nothing specific that I do to try and stop it because I'm not sure there is anything. But
sorry, so is that, do you think that's because you're a content creator, or do you think you'd experience that anyway?
That's actually a good point. I think it's Probably more because I'm a content creator these days. Yeah, definitely. Because
before then, did it affect your mood, Mark?
see, I so long ago now. I've been doing content for so long. It's really hard to remember like a time before it. Like we're talking like more than 8 years now. Like if I could try and think, like, let's say next year I'm not doing content. If I'm not that worried, like if I've got no one to show it to, like what am I really worried about? So I think it has got worse because I know I'm going to have to face up to the music essentially. Like I'm going to have to go and like I already know on tomorrow's team selection video I've got to explain why I didn't buy Gatpo, and I don't have a good explanation. I just look like an idiot now. So yeah, I think it definitely does because I know the comments are going to come if it's bad. So I think yeah, because if I next year not doing content and I'm just playing, who cares what happens, right? Doesn't matter. Unless I'm paying for big money or I'm in a mini league that I really care about. Like ultimately, it doesn't matter if I get a bad rank. I've got no one.
It matters to a lot. It matters to me. And
no, I get that, but like it shouldn't though, should it?
No,
do you know what I mean? But there's lots of stuff in life that shouldn't affect you, and it does. So I'm not saying it's easy to think like that. I'm just saying it shouldn't have that effect. So I think it definitely for me is because of content creation.
A question I didn't have written down, but it's just come into my head. So anyone who's watching, they might not know this because this happened a while ago. Your team was hacked, wasn't it?
Oh yeah.
Back when was that? 6 years ago. How was that on the mental health, or just generally?
It was more panic, to be honest, because I was like, I don't know. When I first saw it, I didn't laugh about it, but like I thought there's just nothing I can do about this now. I need to just try and get in contact with FPL and get it back. So yeah, it didn't actually. Honestly, I think something bad happening with my team on a weekend is worse than that hacking.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, if it had gone really bad and I couldn't get that team back, then it really would have had a massive impact because that's like affecting my livelihood and. Or not, I wasn't doing it as a job back then, I don't think, but obviously it would have impacted the channel because as much as people come for advice, they also want to see your team. So if you've lost your team midway through a season, that's pretty damaging. So I think because FPL got in touch quite quickly and said they were going to look into it, I was hopeful that I would get it back, even if I had to use like the wild card or free hit to cover all the hits that the person had taken. But yeah, it didn't have that much of an impact because I was quite confident that I would get it back, I guess.
I've got two other things written down that are specific to you, Andy. When you're doing the deadline streams, I mean, I'm not sure what your record is, but I know I've definitely seen 20, 30,000 people when you're streaming live. That must be a bit nerve-wracking. I know you're a very laid-back bloke, but does it get to you at all?
Yeah, I think the record is 35. But again, that's a long time ago. I'm never going to hit those numbers again because, again, lots of people do deadline streams now where they never used to. Not really. That's just a practice thing. Like when I used to have like 50, 60 people and I'd only just started streaming, that was way more nerve-wracking than now. And that's, you just get comfortable with doing it. It's not to say that I just don't think about it, actually. I just never, like someone might say in the chat, oh, you've had this many likes, but this many people are watching. And then I think, oh, there's like 8,000, 9,000 people watching. It only clicks then. But otherwise, I'm not really thinking about it. I'm not tracking it all that much when I'm streaming. And I've learned to just deal with it. If I make a mistake, I just don't worry about it now. I just be open about it. Like, what more can I do? I'm literally live. I can't get everything right. And I never pretend to be something I'm not. If I don't know the answer to a question, I'll just say it and I'll just ask people in the chat if they know instead. So it's not that nerve-wracking anymore. Used to be with lower numbers.
Wow. Okay. This is a bit of a silly one, but if anyone doesn't know, KSI, who's a big YouTuber, I believe, has been popping up in your deadline streams recently and giving misinformation. I do notice he gave you a super chat of 500 quid. Is he annoying or does he find it quite funny?
I think everyone, I think that's just his sense of humor. And obviously he's just got a ridiculous amount of money, so he can just afford to do that on a whim. No, I don't think it's that annoying because I think everyone knows it's a joke for the most part. And if not, I'm literally saying it in the stream anyway that he probably hasn't got that info and he's just winding people up. So I don't think. Look, I think the reality is most people would not be annoyed about someone giving them that much money. So I can't be all that annoyed about it. But yeah, I mean, the first time obviously there was loads of questions about it, and I had to kind of say no. I don't think he's got that information. The first time was a bit annoying though because not annoying, but I think it was João Pedro, and there was a little bit of worry about him.
Yeah,
so it did kind of
I had him wound me up a bit.
Yeah, it did spook me a bit. But now you know that he's lying about it, it's not so bad. But yeah, kind of funny. So I got a lot of messages about it.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what advice would you give to someone, Andy, if they're struggling with their mood and mental health as a result of FPL? And I just thought I'd mention here, one of the things that I really like to do is listen to your Sunday knee-jerk stream. And a few other people like Yelena and Steve said this to me as well, is it's sort of like a bit of therapy especially after a bad game.
I mean, definitely listen to my stream. Yeah, I'm not against that. I always find this question hard because I feel like I've got to give a really good answer, and I don't know if I have one. It is the honest answer. Like I can say if you can step away from it, great. Put the phone down. Like for me, obviously, again, it's a bit different because it's content creation. The worst thing I can do is go on Twitter after a bad outcome or whatever and start reading replies. Like that's the worst thing I can do. So that's what everyone else should not do as well, is not interact. Just try and step away for a couple of days. It's never as bad once you sleep on it. Yeah. Never, ever as bad. Unless it's gone really, really, really wrong, I guess. But yeah, I think if you give it a day or two, I tend to find that, right? So I do something, bad outcome, I don't feel great about it. By the time we get to the next weekend, I've had the whole week to just forget about it. And I don't know. This is what I'm saying. I don't have a great answer. Like, you need to know that you have no control, really, at all. Like, and FPL is kind of an annoying game. I said this once on a video where the amount of hours you put in does not necessarily equate to doing better. So if I play like FIFA, I mean, lots of people will tell you the game's rigged and stuff like that. But if I play FIFA for 5 hours every day, the chances are I will probably get better at it. I won't get to be the best player ever, but I will get better than I was when I started. Same as chess, right? That's maybe a better example, right? I'll probably get better at chess. I'm never going to beat Magnus Carlsen, but I can get better at it. With FPL, you can definitely get better as well, but you don't have a say in the outcome, essentially. So what I mean by get better is, if I captain Salah this week, that's objectively a better decision than captaining, I don't know, Eze, right?
You often say in your own videos, don't you, separate the process from the outcome?
Yeah, so I think objectively, captaining Eze this week is a bad decision, right? He's not got 2 games. It's Man United away. It's not great. And we're recording this before double game week 24, it's worth saying. So captaining Salah is better. Eze might outscore him. Like, it's possible. It could happen. I've got no control over that. And you have to kind of understand that sometimes players will blank. And it's really annoying. But I think once you can get past that, it never seems quite as bad. And ultimately, what does it really matter if you do badly one season? There's always another season. The worst most people are going to get is like ribbed by their mates, Like they're going to get the piss taken out of. Sorry, I don't know what language I can use, but they're going to get the mick taken out of them, and that's about it.
And that's coming from the man who, if he has a bad season, is going to get ribbed by more people than anyone in the planet, basically.
Yeah, I mean, there is some pressure with that. Like, I know that I've got to do at least semi-well, because otherwise I'm going to get loads of people the next season ask me about my rank, and then how can you make videos when you've got this rank and stuff like that. But that's different. I think for most people, just get off social media, go and do something else that's not FPL related. There's nothing you can do about it. It's already happened. You've got the deadline's probably not for another week if it's a normal, Saturday to Saturday. Just the thing is, saying just don't worry about it's not enough, because there's lots of stuff you can just not worry about, but that's what you've got to try and do. Like, yeah, I did say I probably wouldn't give a great answer to that, but
no, that's a good answer, mate. So, I mean, it is basic stuff like keeping off the Twitter, keeping off of
go for a walk.
Yeah, one thing I always say is don't check too much live rank during the game week, because
definitely
seeing that go up and down. Are there any final question on this mental health section, Andy? Are there any changes you think FPL or other fantasy football websites I don't know, like fan team or things like that could make to help the mental health base of their players?
I've never really thought, like, could FPL change something? Nothing
Deadline.
really.
I'll tell you the two that come up the most in the interview. We'll maybe get your opinion on them.
Yeah,
Deadline
go
and price changes.
Deadline with that. How would a deadline change make things better for mental health?
Well, I think mainly for people who are abroad and are having to get up at 3 a.m. in the morning.
See, I've got an opinion that I don't think people will like on this, but like, I think it's great that it's a worldwide game and everyone tunes in, but like, it's a game based in the UK, like, so it makes sense the deadlines at a UK. Like, if I wanted to play NFL fantasy, I'm sure the deadline for that is probably a deadline based on USA time, right?
Yeah, it'd be in the middle of the night, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but I wouldn't expect them to change it because I'm playing from the UK. So, like, I see sometimes people say, like, it should be like Friday night or something. It's just an arbitrary time. Like, I don't know. I'm not against it, but I just don't agree that it would be better for. It'd be better for people's sleep schedules, which I guess in turn has an impact on mental health, because if you're tired, you're probably going to be in a more irritable mood and stuff. But I don't know. I just, like, it's a UK based game. That's when the deadline is. It makes a lot of sense when it is as well.
I don't think there's an ideal solution. Like, whatever you do, there's a problem,
really.
Isn't there? What about price changes, Anna?
Again, like, what's impacting that? Because people keep having to check.
Well, this is a personal bugbear of mine. Yeah, basically, on FPL statistics, the lack of transparency. I mean, I know it can lead. I don't think they should complete. I mean, my solution is, which I've said a couple of times in this interview series, I'm sorry if I'm boring anyone who's watched before, is at the end of the game week, actually no, at the start of the game week, the price is fixed until the next game week. And it can go up by 0.3, 0.4, whatever, over there to, like, reflect the fact that Palmer's having a great season or whatever. But, it would remove that needing to check all the time and the frustration of, being priced out or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily against that, but, like, I feel like there's part of me that thinks, like, we're choosing to check that all the time. We're choosing to be obsessed with the game. Do you know what I mean? Like, I guess FPL see it as a more casual game. We obsess about it a bit more, so we've got we're viewing the game differently to someone that just play. Like, I've got mates that probably just check on Friday. They don't even know what the price change sites are. Do you know what I mean?
But they still could make it easier. I mean, it's not like
Again, I'm not against transparency. I can't put it this way. I'm not sitting here thinking of a good reason to not make it more transparent.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some reason to not do it. I mean, look, if they do it at the end of the game week, so you know that X player is going to go up by this much by tomorrow, I guess that's kind of good. But then it's going to push people into buying them before they go up in price. And the same thing, I don't know. Again, I'm not against it, but I don't know if it's a major worry of mine, I guess. But maybe again, that's a bit different. Yeah, maybe again, it's because I'm a content creator, and so anything I do, like check prices, you can kind of say it's part of the job. So I guess I have a slightly different viewpoint. But yeah, if they want to make it more transparent, I think that's probably a good thing. Same with, like, assists and stuff like that. Just come out and explain why this was or wasn't an assist. Even if people don't agree with it, at least you've kind of communicated. So I think if FPL could communicate a bit more with us, I think that would be pretty good, generally.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so just to finish, Andy, just to be transparent, I mean, I think you mentioned it a second ago, we're recording this on the 29th of January, which is about 2 weeks before it's going to come out. So we're about a couple of days before the deadline for double game week 2024, is it this week? How's your season going this year, Andy?
It feels like it's going bad, but I don't think it actually is. And again, this is like another, I guess, going back to the mental health. I feel like it's not going great because I'm comparing it to a lot of other people that are doing better, and that's probably another thing I should stop doing. But I'm like top 200k at the time of recording, which after 23 weeks is probably not the end of the world. That's more than a good enough position to finish high, like top 50k or something like that again. So yeah, I think it's going okay. Just like anything in life, especially with FPL, you just remember all the times it's gone wrong. So, like, holding on to Bruno actually ended up really good. Having triple Arsenal defense actually ended up good. But what I'm remembering is I've never owned Chris Wood. I didn't bring Cunha in when he went crazy. I didn't buy Gakpo before Ipswich at home. So I think it's really hard to not think of the negatives. So I think objectively, I'm actually doing all right. But with FPL, like FPL managers are very greedy. It could always be going better, basically.
How do you think the changes are working? I've got a kind of feeling that the reason I'm not a bad player, like my last 2 seasons I finished 3k and 12k, but I'm 400k
Nice.
400k this year. Do you think the changes they've made in terms of the carrying five free transfers and better pricing, basically, do you think that's accounting for more of the variance in terms of the good managers struggling a bit this season, or a lot of them anyway?
I don't necessarily think that, because there's also lots of good managers that are doing well. Like the first one that springs to mind, someone you've had on this channel, Praz. He's probably like 10k or something like that. So, yeah, I think it's just one of those things that sometimes you don't have such a great season. And also, by the way, I think you said just a second ago, like you're 400k. I'm saying I'm 200k. It's really not that bad. Like there's still plenty of time to go in this season. You can easily still finish top 50, top 20k from these positions. So I don't necessarily even agree that it's necessarily a bad season so far. I think the prices is really good because it makes you have to think. It's a little bit different when, Haaland going massively out of form and Saka getting injured. Suddenly there's not so many decisions to make because everyone can just get Salah and Palmer quite easily, but that's not FPL's fault. Like these things can just happen. But overall, I think the changes have been good.
Are you a fan of the Asman chip, as everyone's called it?
That one, not so much. I like the five transfer thing because I think those that still just want to play aggressively and spend their transfers can. Those of us that sometimes want to be a bit more cautious and save can. Like there's different strategies there. Like, assistant manager, I'll wait and see how it plays out. But I'm not the biggest fan of it. I just like we're picking a team essentially. We're not picking players. I think FPL's. I mean, I said earlier, obviously, it'd be great for people that do this for a living if FPL could get more people playing. Maybe that's what they're trying to do. But I feel like FPL's more successful than pretty much any other fantasy game in the UK because it's so simple. And obviously lots of people outside the UK play it as well. And I think for those of us that are like hyper obsessed with the game, like we've got our head around the chip, but it is still quite convoluted, how it works.
It seems strange considering people were saying they were bringing it in to keep the casuals involved. Having such a complex chip doesn't make much sense.
Like even now I'm getting questions like, can I still use another chip with it? And like if you select your manager, you can't then change your manager without using a transfer, which lots of people pointed out to me on Twitter. It literally says, but it's not intuitive because that's not how wildcard and free hit work. You can make unlimited transfers. And I get it, right? It's not a wildcard or a free hit chip, but intuitively by how FPL works, I would expect to activate my manager and then be able to change it as many times as I want in the first week. If I have to use transfers after that, fair enough. But yeah, I'm not a big fan. I feel like there could be massive swings, and look, there can always be swings with chips. I've never had a higher score than about 12 with triple captain, right? People have had 20, 25 plus, but that's only a swing of like 13 points. With this assistant manager, it could be huge. It could be 30, 40 points plus. And I just, like, it's going to be great if you nail it. Like, it's like I was talking earlier about those, the mood swings, like, works both ways. Like, it could be a huge high, but it could also be a massive low if you mess up. And that could be the difference in hundreds of thousands of places just based off one chip. And I'm just not sure if that's how it should work. Like, I'm always a bit cautious because I don't want to be someone that's just always against change. And I want to see how it plays out first, but I'm not looking forward to it, put it that way.
Do you reckon it will survive into next season?
I think it will, simply because they've spent time on it and they've coded it now and it's in the game. I don't know how it's going to work because obviously at the start of next season, the table is only done by alphabetical order because no games have been played. So they might say it's not going to be available to the second half of the season or something. But yeah, I think unfortunately it probably will survive. But you don't put that much time and effort into making a chip like that just to get rid of it the next season unless there's massive backlash, and I just don't think there will be.
Awesome. So the last question I usually ask Andy, I'm sure you've been asked this a billion times. It's kind of the only like standard FPL question I ask. What's your general advice on how to have a good season, basically?
Pick players that score points. I don't know how you do that. I don't know. Like these days, I use stats quite a lot. Like expected goals, expected assists. I never used to use that. I've started using it more. It's probably a better predictor than points and goals and assists. I don't really think about form all that much, and sometimes it hurts, but sometimes it doesn't. Like if a player's good, they're always good if they've got good fixtures. Now, this doesn't always work like that. Like it's very difficult to give evergreen advice for FPL, but I try and ignore stuff like form, use stats. Fixtures are key. I don't believe in form over fixtures. I think fixtures bring form, etc. And obviously, watch my channel, especially the knee-jerk streams. Apparently,
awesome. Thanks so much, Andy. I've got another request here from an FPL friend. Do you know the Form is Temporary podcast is run by FPL Yellow Army?
I've heard of it.
It's a great.
I don't think it.
Great podcast. They won a FPL Juice Award last night. They basically said they want you to come on the 28th of May. He'll be in touch. So no pressure.
The 28th of what?
The 28th of May. He wants you to come on the podcast. So I just
May. He's over by then.
I have no idea. That's the date he told me.
Oh geez, if that's the season's over at that point, I'll be on holiday, probably off. But we'll see.
We'll see. Okay, Andy, thank you so much for coming on, mate. I had two guests that I wanted to get on more than anyone else, you and Mark Sutherns. I don't know if you've seen, I did a tier list of FPL content creators, and you and Black Box are my two S tier picks.
Thank you very much.
Favourites. So it's an absolute honour, mate. Please like if you enjoyed the video, and please subscribe to help get the channel up to 300 subscribers and more. I'd appreciate that so much. We'll have some more great guests on soon. Thanks so much, Andy, again. Anything you'd like to say before we finish?
No, thanks for having me. Good luck with everything.
Lovely. Cheers, mate. Thank you, and I will see you in the next one.